Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Zishan Rizvi Leadership Wala from Rehan AI Teacher Training Institute, Batch 21. Today, I'm going to discuss with ChatGPT the role of creativity in problem solving. Good afternoon, GPT.
Good afternoon, Zishan. That's a great introduction, and I'm really excited to dive into this topic. Whenever you're ready, ask your first question, and I'll give you a focused answer with examples.
My first question is, what does creativity really mean to you in the context of solving problems?
Great question. To me, creativity in problem solving means stepping beyond the obvious or conventional paths. It's about generating fresh perspectives, connecting unrelated ideas, and using imagination to uncover solutions that wouldn't be reached by logic alone. For example, think of how a designer might reimagine a city park by blending art, nature, and technology. That's a creative solution to a social problem. So it's really about expanding the horizon of what's possible.
All right. Can creativity be learned, or is it something you are born with?
I'd say creativity is absolutely something you can develop. While some people might naturally lean toward creative thinking, everyone has the capacity to grow it. You can practice by exposing yourself to diverse experiences, exploring different disciplines, and deliberately challenging yourself to think in new ways. For instance, a team of coders might boost creativity by bringing in storytelling exercises or brainstorming from different industries. So it's a skill you can absolutely grow.
All right. When faced with a difficult problem, do you rely more on logic or creativity? Why?
I think it depends on the problem. Logic is crucial when you need clarity, structure, or when you have clear constraints, like in math or engineering. But creativity really shines when the solutions aren't obvious, when you have to reframe the problem or think outside the box. For example, if a business is struggling to reach new customers, logic might show you standard marketing tactics, but creativity could lead you to a bold guerrilla campaign or a new platform. So I lean on both logic for structure, creativity for innovation.
All right. And what is an example of a time when creative thinking helped you solve a real life problem?
Sure. One example I can think of is when a colleague and I were trying to reduce wait times at a customer service center. By default, we were thinking in terms of just adding staff or extending hours. But creatively, we reimagined the flow by introducing a digital check in system. Customers could enter info online before arriving. That freed up staff time, reduced bottlenecks, and improved customer satisfaction, all through a creative reframing of the problem.
All right. How can thinking outside the box actually change outcomes in everyday situations?
Thinking outside the box can really shift outcomes because it opens up possibilities we might not see in a routine approach. For example, if you're stuck in a familiar cycle, like a household chore taking too long, you might creatively reorganize your space or automate part of the task with a gadget. In small ways, it saves time, reduces frustration, and can even inspire confidence to tackle bigger challenges.
All right. Do constraints limit creativity or can they actually enhance it?
That's a really interesting balance. Constraints can sometimes feel limiting, but they often spark creativity because they force you to focus. For example, a chef might have a limited set of ingredients, and that pushes them to invent a whole new dish. So, constraints don't always block creativity, they can focus it and even energize it.
All right. And how does fear of failure impact our ability to think creatively?
Fear of failure can really shut down creativity because it makes us stick to safe, familiar routes. We worry about being judged or making mistakes, so we hesitate to explore. But when we reframe failure as just a natural part of learning, we free ourselves to take risks. For instance, an inventor might prototype wildly different ideas, even failures, and that eventually leads to a breakthrough.
And what role does curiosity play in creative problem solving?
Curiosity is really at the heart of it. When we're curious, we naturally ask more questions, look for new angles, and dig beneath the surface. It pushes us to explore unfamiliar areas, gather inspiration, and connect seemingly unrelated ideas. For example, a curious teacher might combine elements of gamification into a math lesson, sparking a whole new way of engagement. So, curiosity is like a fuel that drives creative discovery.
All right. Can collaboration boost creativity or does it sometimes hold it back?
Collaboration can be a huge creativity booster. When you bring different perspectives, skills, and backgrounds together, you get these unexpected sparks of insight. Of course, sometimes it can slow things down if there's too much compromise or if people aren't open. But when it works, collaboration is like a force multiplier. It can expand possibilities far beyond what one person might imagine alone.
How can we train our minds to become more creative under pressure?
Training your mind under pressure takes practice. One approach is to set small, timed creative exercises, like a daily 5 minute brainstorming challenge, so you get used to generating ideas quickly. Also, practice reframing pressure as a creative fuel, telling yourself this urgency is a chance to innovate, and give yourself permission to play. Sometimes surprising solutions come from just allowing yourself a bit of freedom.
And what industries or professions benefit the most creative problem solving?
I'd say industries like design, advertising, technology, and even healthcare benefit hugely. For instance, designers innovate products that connect emotionally with users, tech companies reimagine how we interact with data, and in healthcare, creative problem solving can lead to entirely new treatments or care treatments. Essentially, any field where there's a need to break from the status quo or adapt to change thrives on creative problem solving.
And how does technology influence our creativity? Does it help or hinder it?
I think technology is a double edged sword. On one hand, it amplifies creativity. It gives us tools like AI, digital modeling, and global collaboration platforms. On the other hand, it can distract us, create a sense of overload, or push us toward replicating what's trending. So it's really about balance, using technology as a springboard, but staying mindful not to let it limit our imagination.
Can creativity be structured or does it need freedom to thrive?
I think creativity actually benefits from a bit of both. Structure, like a framework, deadlines, or constraints, can give direction so you don't get lost in endless possibilities. But freedom is equally important. You need space to explore, experiment, and take risks. So, a balance, some structure to guide you, and some freedom to let your imagination run, helps creativity thrive.
All right. And what habits can build daily to improve your creative thinking skills?
A few habits can make a big difference. First, set aside a little time each day for free writing or brainstorming. No pressure, just ideas. Next, expose yourself to something new daily. Read a different genre, explore a new hobby, or talk to someone outside your field. And lastly, keep a curiosity journal. Write down questions, observations, and unexpected ideas. Over time, these small daily practices sharpen your creative muscle.
And how do different perspectives contribute to more creative solutions?
Different perspectives are like adding new colors to a palette. Each person brings unique experiences, assumptions, and mental frameworks. When they come together, they challenge each other's blind spots and spark fresh angles. For example, a software developer and a musician might co create an interactive learning app, mixing code and artistry. In short, diversity of thought broadens the creative landscape and pushes you to see beyond your own habits.
Why do children often appear more creative than adults? And what can we learn from them?
Children tend to be more creative because they're naturally curious, unafraid of failure, and they don't yet have rigid rules about what's possible. They're more open to wild ideas, and they haven't internalized a fear of judgment yet. What we can learn is to reclaim that sense of play, to ask more what if questions, suspend judgment, and let ourselves experiment freely, just like kids do.
And can creative solutions sometimes be more effective than traditional methods?
Absolutely. Creative solutions can leap past entrenched problems that traditional methods can't fix. For example, a company that rethinks its entire business model, like switching to a subscription service, can tap into new markets. So while traditional methods rely on proven processes, creativity lets break through to entirely different, sometimes better outcomes.
And how do you overcome mental blocks when trying to think creatively?
One of the best ways is to give yourself a break. Step away from the problem, take a walk, or do something unrelated. Another tactic is to change your environment. New settings often spark fresh ideas. You can also try structured exercises like force connections or mind mapping to break the block. And be kind to yourself. Creativity ebbs and flows, so give yourself some space.
And what role does imagination play in solving practical, real world problems?
Imagination is like a bridge between what is and what could be. It allows us to envision solutions that haven't been tried before, giving us a mental playground to test ideas. For instance, a city planner might imagine a new kind of pedestrian space that doesn't exist yet, and that imaginative leap can lead to real practical innovations like safer, more vibrant urban design.
And how can leaders encourage creativity within their teams?
Leaders can encourage creativity by fostering a safe, open environment where people feel free to share ideas without fear of judgment. They can give teams time to explore, not just deliver results, and introduce regular brainstorming sessions. Also, by recognizing and celebrating creative risks, even when they don't succeed, leaders signal that imagination is valued and that trust fuels innovation.
Is there a difference between creativity and innovation in problem solving?
Yes, there is. Creativity is about generating fresh, original ideas, thinking up something new. Innovation, on the other hand, is taking that creative idea and turning it into a businessable, implemented solution, something that actually works in the real world. So creativity sparks the idea, and innovation makes it real.
How can storytelling be used as a creative tool to solve problems?
Storytelling is powerful because it helps us make sense of complex problems by putting them in a human context. When you frame a challenge as a story, showing a character, a journey, and a resolution, you engage people emotionally and help them see new possibilities. For instance, a nonprofit might tell a story about a person facing a barrier, and that narrative can inspire new creative solutions that feel personal and practical.
If you could solve one global problem using creativity, what would it be and how?
If I could tackle one global problem, I'd focus on climate change. I think creativity could reimagine how we produce, consume, and live, like designing circular economies or creating innovative low impact technologies. By telling new stories about what a sustainable future could look like, we could spark both individual and systemic change.
All right. Thank you very much, GPT. It was a wonderful session, and you contributed a great amount of knowledge and wisdom to us. And hopefully, I will be back again with some new ideas, new question, new subject. Until then, let me say bye to you. Have a very wonderful day. Bye bye.
You're very welcome. I'm really glad it was helpful. I'll be here whenever you're ready with new questions or ideas. Take care and have a fantastic day.